And we are live once again for the Yelling at Park Cars warm up. I am your gracious host, Shellback TJC, and with me, more often than not, is Mr. Freeze Peach Gaming.
What is up, everybody? Going to be chatting about the Supreme Court and their big swinging nuts tonight.
Yeah. Balls. We've got the biggest balls of them all. That is such a classic song.
Oh yeah, I have that. I had that on vinyl when I was younger. Yeah. I had I went through a bit of a phase where not like I was going out of my way to listen to like vinyl and cassettes, but my CD player broke. So I pulled out. I had this. I had a bunch of tapes. I didn't have a tape player, and I went to Target that was right by my house, and it was like $4 for a tape for like a Walkman, off-brand Walkman, and some headphones. And so yeah, I was rocking vinyl and cassettes for almost a year, just because I was too cheap to get a new CD player.
Dude, like, talk about the fucking good old days, right? The when you could just freaking slap a freaking blank cassette that you bought like a 6-pack of them or whatever at the store, and you just slap a freaking cassette in your boom box and
record some radio.
Yeah.
Yup. Oh, I did that a couple of times. The local radio station, WHFS out of Baltimore, they would do like each day they would do an hour of commercial-less music, usually in like the afternoon, after rush hour prime time when they would get most of their listeners. They would do just an hour of music, and a lot of it they would put some good stuff in there. I remember they'd have a lot of Zeppelin and some Van Halen. Some 90s like alternative and a bit of grunge, stuff like that. And this was in like the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So I made several mixtapes for myself, because other than that I had Dokken on cassette. I had Dokken 2, Van Halen, I think their self-titled album, and a handful of other ones. Those got old pretty quick, so definitely a lot of mixtapes.
What was it? If it ain't docking, you ain't rocking, or something like that. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the saying was, but yeah, freaking. Oh God, all that Dawkins, freaking Ozzy, Alice Cooper.
Actually saw Alice Cooper live. Now this was just a few years ago. He puts on one hell of a show. If you ever get the chance to see Alice Cooper live, do it.
Oh man, talk about a freaking as the kids say these days, a based individual.
Oh yeah,
freaking Alice Cooper, man. He's him and Ted Nugent, man.
Oh, Uncle Ted. God.
If only Uncle Ted would run for fucking the presidential office. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think he just likes talking shit about politics more than actually being involved in it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He just wants to go crossbow hunting turkey out in the woods. That's
right.
That's like his main thing.
This motherfucker, he was born and bred in Michigan, right? I mean, he had the nickname, Motor City Madman, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so he loved his freaking home state of Michigan, but Ted Nugent is such a freaking, he's one of the epitomes of a freedom loving patriot. So he moves to Texas from Michigan, so he becomes a freaking Texan, so he can be free, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
So, but and, and speaking of freedoms that Uncle Ted Nugent likes to have, are the bang bangs.
Mm-hmm.
And just before we hit the live button here, me and Freeze were talking about one of the not the Roe v. Wade, but just before that, a decision that the Supreme Court handed down was about New York and concealed carry, and so thankfully, um, people in the city, county, and state of New York, to quote Ray from Ghostbusters, the city, county, and state of New York are allowed, or will continue to be allowed to conceal carry firearms. And even though, in my humble opinion, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. I am very happy for the people of New York. Um,
Yeah, the decision being that states doing may issue and requiring a person to give a reason that can be shot down by the state to be able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Yeah, I think that's actually a really important ruling, and it's going to affect, because it's the Supreme Court decision. I mean, it's going to affect every state that has may issue. Now, I do believe that most of the states that have it are going to force people to go through the legal battles and make it go all the way up until, I mean, at some court eventually is going to have to recognize, well, the Supreme Court has made a ruling on this. There's case law involved, and then
well,
the rights will begin
yeah.
opening up to more people. I was actually just having a conversation with my dad about firearms recently, because he's always been somewhat interested in them, but he's also somewhat apprehensive. But he's been seeing all the crap going on lately, and so he's been like, I'm thinking about getting a firearm. And so I'm telling him like all the stuff he needs to do to be safe, because I have two very young sisters. Like one of them's like 6. And I'm telling him like, I know you're probably
Wow.
not going to like it, but you're going to want to have, some sort of lock on it. Either keep it in, a lockbox or have an actual gun lock. I would suggest a lockbox over the gun lock. They're a little bit easier to work quickly. But I was just, he was under the impression that he could just like go to Walmart and buy it and like walk, or not Walmart, but Bass Pro Shop. He could just walk in, like buy a shotgun and leave. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're gonna have to go through a background check. But now, where he lives is essentially they've been a May issue for a long time. He's right outside of DC. It's been May issue for
Uh,
years. And so, now I need to
so
talk to him and be like, hey, keep your eyes open. You're gonna be able to get your permit sometime in the near future.
so he's you said you were originally from Maryland.
Yep.
Is it? So he's up there
Yeah.
somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. He's
Um.
in a predominantly Hispanic suburb just outside of DC.
Uh,
His wife's
uh,
Peruvian, so my stepmom. So there's
as
he's
the Latino slant would say, orderly.
yeah.
Um. But yeah, well, currently residing in the state of Washington, I had to fork over, I believe it was $50 or so. I can't. Anyway, it was 50 plus dollars, right?
It's not bad.
That I had to fork over and fill out some paperwork so they could do a freaking background check on me, just like when you buy a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had to my only hesitation or qualm, is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
Um, was the fact that I had to be fingerprinted,
Oh
which made
yeah, I
me
did too.
feel like a criminal when they're being booked, for before they get put in the cell, So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm like my own personal opinion. I'm like how come I'm being fingerprinted when I have no criminal history and yada yada yada. It's like I don't know. It just makes me feel like um, that's just a thing for the for the government to be able to track me, instead of a criminal who doesn't go through these channels.
I
But
believe the reason they do that, I could be wrong, but I believe the reason that's done is because you're getting a stronger background check when you're filing for a concealed carry, or like mine is just a weapons
yeah,
carry. I can just carry weapons.
and that's the
They
thing. I don't
actually
think it's
run your
a
fingerprints through the
yeah,
national database to see if you pop up on any other crimes.
yeah. Well, see, the thing is, I don't think it's an actual quote unquote stronger background check. I think it's the same. It's the same freaking level or whatever as it is when you go into a gun shop and say, I want to buy that. Um, but because I don't know, they because I mean, there's all kinds of shit that you got to freaking write down on that damn application.
Hmm.
Um, but which in a way, in my own, again, in my humble opinion, I it's I think it ought to be like it was back 100 200 whatever years ago. It's like I'm especially with the way things are going currently. I'm just it just everything seems like an infringement to me. You know,
Yeah, it's
and like it says in black and white, shall not be infringed. And it's like uh, they and you hear all the the lefty loos and the freaking gun grabbers. Oh, it's so easy, and you just walk in, walk out. No, 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 it's not. I was uh I originally went into the gun store where I bought my Sig Sauer M18. I originally went in there back in January of sometime, and I didn't come home with the gun and until like a couple months later. So
damn.
um,
Do they
well,
have a mandatory wait
well,
period?
the thing is, like, uh I've at first I just did some kind of like looking around and stuff. Um, but by the time I saved up some money, because some of us actually have to save up a little bit before we can, because we're talking, even there's cheap ones that are a couple few $100, but if you want a good well known reputable brand, um like Sig Sauer, we're talking 5 6 700 bucks,
Mhm.
and after taxes, I walked out the door spending somewhere around 860 ish
Mhm.
dollars, right?
I always try to aim for
So
the pun intended aim for the mid range. So I usually go for, like, I love my Smith and Wessons. They're good guns. They're well made, and they're usually not too overpriced. Like, I paid for my M&P 40, which is the full size, not the Shield. I
Yeah.
paid $320 before tax, so a little bit under 400 for it.
Right. Well, my so the you know, speaking of like the size and all that, like my M18 is I believe it's considered a compact slide, but the bottom half, you know, the grip assembly, is full sized. So it's I guess kind of like a hybrid. What was it called? A modular. It's like a modular type of platform. So you know, like I can change out pieces and parts. Um, but yeah, so it's made even though it's the you know the military equivalent or whatever, because this is you know this is actually what the you know like the official sidearm of like you know the branches of the military now.
Oh yeah,
But
6 hours are good. Those are well made, good guns.
But I mean this is a you know this is a quote unquote concealed carry size firearm.
I actually really like my my compact that I have, the Springfield Hellcat. Oh, that thing is so nice. And firing it too, because you know, usually the small weapons you have to worry about how much kick you're gonna get on it and how you know if you rapid fire get some runaway.
Yeah.
That thing, it kicks straight back. Now it definitely has some kick because it's a very light weapon.
Yeah.
But and it's shooting a 9 mil, so it's got a decent kick to it, but
Mhm.
it goes straight back in your hand, so
Yeah.
you don't get a whole lot of runaway, you know, instead of
Right.
actually lifting up.
Yeah, I like I was saying before we hit the live button, you know, I actually got to go to the range and shoot it for the first time, and yeah, it's you know it's decent in that area, you know, as far as you know the recoil and all that goes.
Mhm.
Um, I you know it's definitely friendly, you know, so you
I
know
think the worst recoil I have is my LCP, the 380 LCP. It's a tiny little pocket gun, shoots a 380. That thing kicks like a mother.
mm,
Just because it's so small. I mean, it's literally like the size of my palm.
yeah.
It's a tiny gun.
Well, back um back when back when Reagan was still in office,
Yep.
um I I had and it was probably one of the first handguns I ever shot. Is a 357 Magnum revolver.
Oh yeah.
And it was well I squeezed that trigger and it was like boom, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Buddy of mine has a 357 Derringer. It's the two barrel, two shot Derringer. And that thing, like the round takes up like not even kidding, 7/8 of the freaking barrel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I don't think I've ever seen a Derringer of that caliber.
Oh, they make them in
Uh,
everything. I bought a for a friend of mine. We had a gift war going on, and he brought over to my house one day a 1943 6 millimeter Mauser bolt action rifle, and it was made. I actually did a bit of research on it. It was made in Romania back in '43 for the Nazis, but it doesn't have the eagle on it. Um,
mm,
and I'm like, man, you just brought me like a rifle. I was giving you like T-shirts and shit, and you bring this, so I had to hit him back. I knew he liked Derringer, so I got a 38 special Derringer for him.
yeah. You know, I like the way you said that. That's the way I say that word a lot of times to you know circumvent the the freaking censor bots and shit.
I don't know if they care about the Yahtzee word.
Yeah.
Enough people use it. I think that's one. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe if you're calling somebody a Niazi, you can get away with it, but you have to like do it with fervor.
Right. I don't know. Plus, in a way, I'd rather say it like Nazi instead of saying Yahtzee, because I'm like, I don't know, about the younger crowd, but there used to be a game with dice called Yahtzee, and so anytime somebody says Yahtzee, I'm thinking about that game.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, the New York decision was a good one that the United States Supreme Court just handed down, but also a little bit more famous for attention, especially in the media, is Roe v. Wade being overturned, and the Lefty Lou meltdown on social media has been terrifically epic.
Mm-hmm. Lots
It's
of memes.
which and it's funny because they were quote unquote our side and their side would have banter of the my body my choice um during the global hoo-ha.
Mm-hmm.
And so but yeah, it's funny how to them my body my choice does not apply when it comes to injecting experimental chemicals into your body, but yet if you want to stick a coat hanger up your cooch and fish out a fetus, that's fine.
Look, we're well past the coat hangers. Technology has advanced. It's a blender and a vacuum put together.
Right.
So
Yeah.
much better. So much nicer.
Oh yeah, that's talk about humane, right?
Yeah.
But so yes, for anyone out there on that side listening, you're, to put it nicely, you're a jackass.
So like my biggest thing with this whole Roe v. Wade thing, because I have been complaining about it for the longest time, not because of the what it did for advancing abortion laws throughout our country, but the fact that it was just bad case law, and it's one
Yeah.
of the most prominent, probably not the worst, but one of the most prominent instances of the Supreme Court legislating from the bench, and it fucking boils my piss every time they do that.
Well,
And
the thing
so,
is too. Sorry, not to
oh
interrupt,
yeah,
but
no,
the it was based on a lie.
it was, but it's one of those things. If
She
the
came out. She came out afterwards. For those who don't know, the lady came out afterwards and admitted the whole thing was bullshit.
well, I would
But
say it's
yet that that's that quote unquote law has been on the books though for what, the past 4 5 decades.
yeah, I think almost 50. Yeah, it was like what 1972. So yeah, 50 years almost. I mean, I will say to somewhat play devil's advocate here. I don't think that whether or not it was based on truth should matter if the premise is objectively true. So whether or not the exact situation happened, if the premise were sound, the rest of it wouldn't really matter. The problem is the premise was really unfounded for this. They were basing it off of the constitutional right to privacy between a medical practitioner and their patient, which it really doesn't follow for for abortions. It just doesn't work. And it's the biggest problem is that they were creating law without allowing it to go through the legislature, and they took it out of the hands of the not just the national, the Congress, but also the state electors. And it's their duty to come up with regulations on this kind of thing. And they just completely took it out of their hands, and I imagine it let a lot of people go because they didn't have to actually put their name on it. And so this is one less thing that I'm going to be able to bitch about for the Supreme Court, because I've long said that it's one of my least favorite branches of government, in a government that I think has become bloated and ineffective and ineffectual. So one less thing I can complain about is Roe v. Wade. They need to take a really close work at the NFA next, though.
I don't know. Maybe I've heard of that, but refresh my memory on
what the
initial
national. Oh, sorry, the NFA.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the National Firearms Act. That's what stops people from being able to get fully automatic weapons and suppressors and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I'm of the firm belief that if the if the government has it, we should be able to have it too.
Yep.
But yeah, which I just popped into my head. Then which yes, that includes, like, say, a tank.
Yeah.
Because it just, what just popped into my head was I believe it was James Garner, a James Garner movie where he was an army guy, and and somehow he got his hands on a tank for his own personal use. But anyway, but yeah, the firm belief, though, that some of these people seem to have in their brains that a right has been taken away from them.
Yeah. I've definitely that's been grinding my gears, because if it was a constitutional right, then how is the Supreme Court able to so easily take it away? If it's a constitutional right, they can't do that.
But and the thing, they and newsflash to those people, this hasn't banned abortion. Okay, you can still go wherever, okay, and get an abortion. You may have to cross a state line now, but you can still get it. So don't worry, you can still freaking kill a freaking innocent, defenseless life. Don't worry, okay? It's cool.
Feticide is still regulated in the positive in most areas. I know a couple of states had trigger laws that went into effect. I believe Texas had one, and a bunch of people were complaining about that. But yeah, it's like all of every major protester that leads to riots that the left has been, creating over the past 5-6 years now. It's all based on lies. It's completely fabricated. We're losing our rights. Like, no, you're not. They're putting it back in the state's hands, and almost every state has laws and regulations on it. And if they don't have laws and regulations on it, that means that there's no regulation. It's not illegal. You can just do it. So most places, like in California and New York, you're still going to be able to do it up until birth.
Yeah, that's one of them the freaking late term bullshit. That's God. And what's funny though is, like, the science, okay, they'll say, oh, well, this, that, or the other thing, is, that's life. It's alive. That, this thing has joined up with this thing, and so that is like a living entity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yet at the same time, you have these people that are like, no, no, it's not, because it's not viable, because it wouldn't be able to survive outside of the womb. And all. It's like,
that doesn't mean it's not a life. Yeah, and that's one of the
right.
major issues with Roe v. Wade is it was based on viability, which is a changing metric as technology improves.
Hmm. Well, the thing is, it's like, um, uh, you know, like I said, though, in other things that are not human, like, in us humans, okay, we got the egg, we got the sperm, and then, when one of them little swimmers actually breaks through the wall, that, from that point on, it is a freaking, living entity. It is a freaking,
That is the moment of conception, is
yeah.
when egg and sperm
And
combine.
so, but it's funny though, because in other things, they're all like, oh yeah, sure, that's, that is that's a living thing. But when it comes to a freaking human being, for some reason they're like, no, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's, it's a parasite, because it's feeding off of the mother, and I'm like, okay, what? But
Like I said before, it's all based off of lies. That's the only way they can push their ideological bullshit, because it's illogical, and they have to lie about it. They have to create a narrative that plays to people's emotions that can not be argued logically. That's how they work. And unfortunately, it's very effective. It works very well. It's kind of like I think Height talks about, with the consciousness only being like 1%, the rational part of your brain only being 1% of persuasion, and the rest of it being based off of emotion.
right. Well,
Um,
and another thing, because the so the like, guns have more rights than women now. Like,
yeah, nothing changed, you idiots.
yeah,
And all of the places where they're rioting are places that have very open and like less restrictive than anywhere in Europe abortion laws.
yeah.
Also, wanted to highlight Papa Cotton put a comment up just a moment ago. What's up, Papa Cotton? Also, hail
What
to Nerdscape.
this one?
The ever notice the loudest people screaming about about it don't have to worry about getting knocked up in the first place.
Oh, you
And
mean
yeah,
these? Yeah.
oh, I missed that one.
Right,
I missed that
right.
one. Oh,
Oh my God!
I
And
don't have live chat. I have top chat.
now that
There we go.
we'll of course, we're gonna be labeled misogynist for this, but but
I mean,
yes, the women, uh as we used to say back in the day, the women that I wouldn't touch with your dick.
yeah,
Um,
I
uh,
wouldn't bang her with your dick and in another guy pushing.
yeah, it's like, but they're like, ah, my body,
Yeah.
my choice, ah! Like,
Oh
uh,
yeah, we're losing our rights. It's a constitutional right. It's not a constitutional right. It isn't. Show me in the Constitution where it is, because that's by definition what a constitutional right is. And if it was, like I said before, the Supreme Court wouldn't be able to just take it away. Like, that's not how constitutional rights work. The Supreme Court is obliged by oath to uphold the Constitution and to steer all of their decisions toward what is or is not constitutional.
yeah, and which I mean, I'm all for like, if you wanna if you wanna bang everyone you see, then by God, knock yourself out. Go for it. You know, if you
That is
have
their
that.
constitutional right. Go right ahead and do
But
that.
yeah, Papa's like, you know what works better than abortion? Not being a complete slut. Just saying.
Yep.
But you know, I mean, if you wanna, you know, I'm one of those people that are like, you know, the whole double standard on, you know, a guy can, you know, bang everything that walks, you know, and he's a stud, but you know, if a woman does the same, she's a slut.
No, he's a
Um,
slut as well. I call them both sluts. It's, I mean, do you thing. I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
right.
But yeah, no, they're both sluts.
Um, but yeah, he's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, he's not wrong. Uh,
Oh, what Papa Cotton said?
yeah.
You know, I would also have to argue that the fall down the staircase is probably better than going to Planned Parenthood because then insurance covers it.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I feel like I
you
should write that down. That was a good one.
um, but you know, anyway, I think like the point I was trying to get to was that, um, you know, the same people that want to take away my guns so I can't defend myself are the same people who are totally okay with ending an innocent life,
Mm-hmm. Well, because they
an innocent, defenseless life.
yeah, because they've had to create a narrative around it and lie about it and not say that it's a life. That's why when you actually take a woman who's planning on getting an abortion and give her an ultrasound and show her what's about to happen, I'd have to double check the statistics, but I believe it has like an 80% uh, frequency of changing their mind. Like they're going in and planning on doing it, but they see they once they actually see it and they have the proper understanding and not the left-wing propaganda that they're fed constantly, they change their mind.
Yeah. You
I
know,
also imagine it hits biologically, like the actually seeing it, that that's when the hormones immediately kick in.
right. And speaking of seeing it, so I unfortunately, I've only ever been able to watch the very first episode of the Orville. So I've got a lot of catching up to do.
You talking
Needless
season
to
3
say,
or the whole show?
the whole show.
Oh man, you haven't even gotten into like what the show actually is. The first
Yeah,
episode is very different from the rest of the show.
but from what I've heard from some of our fellow YouTubers, is that this latest episode is kind of dealing with some of this stuff, and that um, Ed, which I think is Seth
That
MacFarlane's character,
yeah.
right? Okay, so Ed got all butt hurt because these certain group of aliens or whatever, when someone of their race or whatever gets an abortion, they are forced to witness the ordeal.
I mean, it's I
And
think at the very least
I,
education, like
you know, this may sound a little harsh to some people, but I'm all for that. You know,
I
it's like
mean,
if you want to get an abortion, there should be a freaking camera on that motherfucker, and a big screen flat panel TV right in front of your fucking eyeballs, and you know, and freaking what it like Clockwork Orange style, freaking, you know, keeping your damn eyelids open, you know, and you having to watch them, you know, scoop that shit out.
I feel like hitting him with the full-on advanced Ludovico is a bit much. So it's one of those things, like, I try to have what at least I think is a nuanced take on abortion, in that I am personally pro-life, and I would try to urge anyone I know who's considering it to not go through with an abortion, and to at the very least consider adoption. But at the same time, I don't know if that's something that I should be able to make a decision on for the whole of society. However, I do think that it would be important to have education in the medical field of what people are about to do, because there's way too many cases where women are getting abortions and they're not having informed consent. They don't know what's actually happening to them. They don't know what's going to happen to their bodies. I mean, especially like these late term ones, like that's going to have a very difficult lasting effect on the woman. I mean, it might immediately kick in postpartum depression. And some of them, I mean, it's very gruesome. They essentially will stop the heartbeat while the basically almost done cooking fetus is in the womb, and then force them to go through labor. Like that's freaking traumatic as hell. And there's just not enough informed consent. If a woman knows exactly what's going to happen, and I also think that there should at least be the opportunity for the father to be involved in it.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, yeah, she's carrying it and everything, and I get that, but at the same time, he has a part of it. Should he not at least have the ability to say, like, no, that's my kid. I get that you're the host of this, but you're having that kid, and I will help to pay for whatever hospital bills there are. If you don't want it, give it to me and fuck off.
Well, that's like, in the state of Washington, and I have personal experience with this. If you are not married to the mother, you don't even really have a say in the freaking naming of the child. My second born, my youngest, I had no input into his name, which and I like, I like the name that he was given, right? But at the same time, I hold a personal grudge to this day that I had no say so in any of his names.
I actually had a similar situation when for me. I mean, I wasn't really a part of it. I was, you know, a tiny little squishy newborn with a soft spot on the head that I guess never went away. No, I got a solid head. Never mind. I'm getting off track.
Yeah, feeling
but
much better
when
now?
yeah, but my parents weren't married when I was born, so I'm a bastard. And
You
yeah,
bastard.
I'm a bastard. Yeah, but so my parents weren't married, and it's essentially the same way in Maryland, that the father doesn't really have a say if they're not married. And so
Yeah.
I got, because I'm a junior, so I have my dad's first name and middle name, but my last name was my mom's, maiden name, because they
Yeah.
weren't married yet. And basically she kind of held it over his head, was like, you want to give him the full name, you gotta we got to get married. So I was actually at my parents' wedding wearing an adorable little white suit. And my birth
Aw.
certificate actually has a line through my original last name. It's crossed out, and then because they were still using typewriters in hospitals back then. Uh, so that, yeah, it's actually crossed out and typewritten above it and off to the side a little bit, my actual last name.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm actually thinking that I'm probably gonna have to uh, go through a custody battle in order to accomplish the same thing. But that's a discussion for another time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I just the the logic, I guess, the logic uh, that these people have surrounding this issue is just it's mind boggling, you know, and
It's
when I when a simple country redneck like myself, looks at something and says that's stupid, it's fucking stupid.
The
Okay.
problem is that you're attempting to apply logic to something that is purely based on emotion and lies.
Yeah.
That's the issue. They have nothing to complain about because nobody's actually losing any of the rights because I mean, at least everywhere where they're
Right.
currently rioting, it's still legal to do
Yeah.
that. Like their laws are
Right.
not changing, and it's everything about it is based off of lies.
I mean, granted, people, okay, you may have to, buy some of freaking, corn pops freaking $6 a gallon gas and drive, and like I said, drive to the neighboring state. But hey, you know, this is, that's what you voted for.
Man, yeah. Imagine paying more in gas to get to Planned Parenthood than you're paying for, the actual, you know, spin and suck that they're getting.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I just
it's
I don't know. And the thing is, I've always, at least in a way, I've always kind of had the philosophy of, um, you know, it, this is an act, that it's between, you, uh, this is between you, the fetus in your body, and the freaking man upstairs, right?
mhm.
Um, and and who am I to wedge myself in there? Uh, but but that's just like my, for lack of a better term, my political stance.
Yeah, same.
Um, Me personally, I am no. It's like
Mhm.
you know my own personal opinion, whatever, is like, if you're gonna play, be ready to pay. And by
Yeah.
that I mean, if you're gonna do some boom boom in the room, be prepared to be dad or mama.
I mean, it's so you're essentially separating the ethics and the morals of the situation. Morally, I mean, like myself, you disagree with it and think that there's an issue there, but you're really not supposed to, and it's basically impossible to legislate morals. Anytime it's tried, it's completely backfired. Um, so you have to legislate based off of ethics and actually create laws off of an ethical code and not a moral code. And like I agree with that. Like the safe, legal, and rare argument has always pretty much swayed me. Like I
Yeah.
don't like it. I'm personally against it, but at the same time, abolishing it completely and making it illegal or essentially illegal. Like I think Georgia's law, which is the heartbeat bill, which at 6 weeks. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to expect a woman to know enough to at least go to the doctor and make a decision on something as difficult as that in 6 weeks. So I think that's really taking it like a step too far, and it should be available. But I think similar to, I mean, there's plenty of other medical procedures that you have to sit down with a licensed therapist and go over what's going to happen, what the reasons why you might be doing this, and they should be really digging and trying to come to an actual answer as to whether or not this is or is not a good idea. I wouldn't be entirely against something like that, but
Well,
it's
to
you can't
me,
make it illegal.
the solution to that is, if you don't want to be pregnant, and like, either A, you didn't, you're not on the pill, or B, the condom broke or whatever. um they've got this wonderful little pill out there, called the Plan B pill.
Dude,
Get you some of those,
those things are rough.
and freaking, pop one or two of them, after you've after you've had the boom boom in the room. Okay,
Okay.
if you're really that opposed to possibly becoming pregnant.
No. Here's sorry. There's one big problem with that. The plan B is very rough on a woman's body. It is horribly rough. It's essentially forcing a woman to immediately go into a period. It fucks their hormones up. They taking it that often would cause, I mean, long term it would cause severe damage. Just the amount of times they would be forcing themselves to go into a period, it would fuck up their cycle. I mean, there's all sorts of shit that fucking with hormones like that can do. And I don't know. I just think that it's like I get it. Like I understand practicing abstinence is the only 100% way, but at the same time, like I have to take human nature into account, and I have to expect that people are going to be dumb and they're going to do dumb things and they're going to make mistakes. So expecting people to just not have sex or something like that, I don't think that it's reasonable as far as legislature goes, as far as actually creating a law.
Uh,
But yeah, plan B
either
is rough.
either way, there is so many there's more than, as the saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely like the pill, condom,
right.
Things like
And
that.
Speaking as someone who uh, has very rarely employed the services of a prophylactic.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say
I've only got
prostitute. That's
I've only got 2 kids. Okay,
mm-hmm.
so it's I don't know. I just to me it's a little bit of a mystery as to how all these people seem to get pregnant so easily. And
It
so so they need abortion there to fucking bail them out.
it's because they view abortion as a contraceptive. They
Yeah,
don't view it as an absolute last ditch effort, a final option for someone who is in their worst of states, and like this decision could, like the decision to keep a child could literally break them, break their home apart, break their finances apart. There's I
well,
would
like
say
I
there's
said,
probably situations, but it's like I said, the safe, legal, and rare is the best way to go. But because they view it as as a contraceptive, they don't see any reason to be safe in other areas, or at least that's what I imagine the logic behind it would be.
and that's why I say, if you're gonna play, be prepared to pay. You know, it's like you should have this, thought in your mind that if you're gonna be fucking, be prepared to become a parent. Okay.
There's a chance, even if it's a fraction of a percent. Yeah, I agree that is true.
But anyway, it's like 2 minutes till the hour, and comics and the crew are about to hit the go live button on their show, the actual yelling at parked cars. So we're going to wrap it up and give people the opportunity to switch over to Comics Division's channel. And so I actually, I actually got Mr. Peach's links in the description this time.
Oh, hey.
So you can, for those in the audience or even those who are catching this on the replay, you can go into the description and find Freeze Peach's links to his Twitter and both of his YouTube channels.
Ah, thank you,
So,
sir.
Yeah. And with that, we will bid you adieu.
Bye, everybody.